So, Joya, welcome to another week of tea and chats. How are you?
Very good. Hi, Ella. Got my tea, some white tea today. What about you?
I'm continuing with my faithful Finnish comfort.
Mm.
So, how
Someday
has
I'll
your
have to
week
try
been?
that.
Yeah, you must come over. We should do a live
That would be
together.
interesting.
Yeah, I wonder how often we will interrupt each other because we do. I do that a lot. Let's see if I can
So do I.
not be.
But we do it here on the camera as well. So
I think I'm quite in the shade here. There we go. So, how's your week been?
good. I would say up until about Friday, it was kind of slow and a lot of practices to clear or um balance my nervous system. And then on Friday, I started taking action and things started happening, and I'm feeling an excitement and kind of giddy. What about you?
Very similar. Very similar.
Yeah.
This week I continuously sat in the lull a little bit at the beginning of the week, try to
Mm-hmm.
be aware of that and became very aware of the desire to be somewhere different.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to the Peter Crone podcast, Know Thyself, again.
Okay.
And I kept coming back to a section that he talked about how we are where we are. And that's all that we can really do about it is accept where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the pushing for change, we feel the lack. We're coming from at it from a place of
Yes.
lack. And so that has been sitting quite at the forefront of my mind this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a beautiful, well, I have a sauna blanket, I think you know.
Mm.
So I got my sauna blanket out, and that's where I listen to DIs from To Be Magnetic. DIs are
Yeah.
the same as guided visualizations, but they follow the process. And there are DIs on all sorts of topics. So it could be unblocking money, unblocking love. But the more recent ones that I've been doing are the ones that Lacey, who is the founding member of To Be Magnetic, she's channeled stripping DI. So taking or shredding or shedding. I think she called it
Okay. I like
stripping.
shedding, like shedding your
Shedding
skin.
like the snake, but I think she's
Yes.
called it stripping away. So
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm just gonna sip because I've got a sore throat today.
Mm.
Anyway, the shedding DI or the stripping, I can't remember. Basically, in the sauna blanket, I removed everything that I am attached to from my life. So you begin with stripping away your work, your belongings, your home, your car, and you just let it all fall off you. Then you strip away your work and labels, so how you define yourself, if you're a teacher, a mother, you let
Mm.
all of those fall away. And to the point where you become just the soul version of yourself
Yeah.
and how that feels, and it's really beautiful. And then
Nice.
it guides you and you travel along feeling safe as you do it. So there can be a fear of letting go of everything because
Of
it's
course.
almost opposite to the law of attraction, that you're calling things in and you're becoming that thing, it's like a double-sided sword in a way. I don't
You're
know,
not
like this.
identifying with anything there.
Yeah, and that being beautiful in
Beautiful.
itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I went into, because I was so loving this heat from the sauna and this hug that it feels like I have with it, I
Mm.
went in to do the future self DI. So I've stripped everything away. So I've got clean slate in my mind. And then the future self DI, you open the door to yourself in a year's time and what that looks
Okay.
like.
Yeah.
and you see how you are already on that path and you are already there.
Nice.
And then you travel a bit further down, and then you're at 10 years' time and what that looks like. And you just allow your mind to present things to you. You need to relax into just seeing how it evolves, not force thoughts
Right.
or force
Okay.
ideas of what you want.
Yeah.
To just allow feelings to come up.
Nice.
And then you finish with it, how you feel at the end of your life. So it's 1 year's time, 10 years' time, and then you're on your deathbed, really. And it was such a beautiful experience, because ultimately I felt at the end of it that if I was to die tomorrow, I am that future version of myself now. If I could only sit in the knowing that I am that person now. So there's no need to crave or want for anything, because it's already inside of you. I don't know if any of that makes sense, or if you could speak that back in your words.
It does. I love that. I've also been sitting with those same ideas about craving and wanting. But my approach to coping has been a little bit different. I love that practice and like identifying with your future self and knowing that you have it. But what I've been working through is the idea that, okay, so let's say I check in, I'm aware, and I feel good. Well, then I'm soaking in that good feeling, trying to create that as my new baseline. Like that is my state. Like that's just where I live and I feel good. And then if it would switch to lack or longing, going there as like, well, it's coming up either because I need to work through something, and it's just going to get louder and louder and louder until I can transmute it. So yeah, when I'm feeling that way, first I would check in with my thoughts, because sometimes like the lack or the longing comes from something happening or not happening. And my thoughts saying, this is good or this is bad, kind of like what we were saying last week, placing a judgment on it. But like what I was doing this week was going to that maybe yes, maybe no story. Do you remember that? Could you tell it?
Yeah.
That Chinese
the
fable?
The Chinese fable. It's a
Yeah.
famous
Do you still
fable.
teach that in class?
No, I haven't done that for quite a while. In fact, it's almost how I've been approaching Class 6. It would have been one to do with Class 6 this year, of the lack of attachment
Well,
to
maybe you
an
want to do it
outcome.
next week, but
No, do you, like, if you can remember through the steps of the fable? Well, it's kind of
yeah, no, I
straightforward.
remember. I mean, I kind of looked it up because I thought, well, maybe I have to tell this story. But the farmer, there's a farmer, and he has a horse that runs away. And the neighbor says, oh my gosh, that's such bad luck. And he goes, maybe yes, maybe no. And the next day, the horse comes back with 3 friends. So now the farmer has 4 horses. And the neighbor goes, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. And he goes, maybe yes, maybe no. And one of these horses is super wild, and the farmer's son tries to tame him. And he falls off the horse's back and breaks his arm. And the neighbor goes, oh my gosh, that's such bad luck. And the farmer goes, maybe yes, maybe no. And then the next day, the army comes to recruit the farmer's son, but they don't because he has a broken arm. So basically, the moral of the story is we don't know if a good thing is a good thing, a bad thing is a bad thing. It just is what it is. So that's how I've been sitting with the longing or the lack or things that are disappointing. I'm just checking in with my thoughts and saying maybe yes, maybe no. And that gives me the courage to like breathe into them, sit with them. And I feel like that's where I'm able to be stretched and be with them and not afraid of them as like this is a bad situation. I can be with the situation. It's okay. And so then it like gives me courage to, I guess, just be with them and then feel like I am transmuting them so that eventually they won't keep coming up. And if they do, they're not scary anymore. Like, so what?
Yeah. Funny thing that I had a conversation on Friday with a very good friend who's a therapist, a hypnotherapist, and she'd been doing a practice that was quite similar, but it was about being aware in the moment, so pausing and observing the critical mind coming in. So, you know, when you have that high of joy or excitement or looking forward to, or a sense of, I got this, or I'm going to do this difficult thing that is stretching me, or I'm going to take on this action that is slightly out of my comfort zone, that's stretching me to go beyond. And then you drop into fear, or you start having, that's your critical mind coming up, the protection. And so as soon as you acknowledge, and labeling it, that's the critical mind. Thank you very much. You're trying to protect me, but I can take it from here. I got this.
Yes.
And transmuting, we were talking about that sense of nervousness, actually. Nervousness is excitement. So turning the word nervousness into excitement. So I'm excited about this prospect.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this new action that I've decided I'm willing to do, because I've noticed a lot of action coming up for me that I get really excited about. And as soon as the critical mind comes in, it becomes nervousness. So it's not allowing that nervousness to exist from a place of fear, which has no truth in it anyway. Because the fear is all about questioning myself, doubting myself. That's all critical mind ways to protect us.
Yeah. And so I feel like just the mind in general is giving meaning to things and deciding if things are good or bad. So silencing the mind in general, just thoughts, and dropping into the heart and what feels right and what feels good. And for me, if I am in that state of lack or neediness, sometimes I think my mind is still involved or whatever. It's like, my heart wants something or wants to do something, like I was saying last week, to be received or to receive something in return. But if I can tap into that unconditional acting, just doing because it feels good, then I think it is the transmuting as well. Then I feel good and I have that courage to just do what I feel called to do without the judgment.
Well, judgment, I recognized as I was doing the future self DI, all these toxins and sweat coming out of me. It felt really good. I also actually released a lot through tears as well during the practice, because I had to do a lot of forgiveness towards myself and my past self, and acknowledging how often my past self has always felt like it's in the wrong place or doing the wrong thing, and never really accepting the now of of where I'm at in that moment as being the right place to be. You know that they say about, look, if you see yourself, your 20-year-old self, when you're 40, and you look back and see your 20-year-old self, you look back on them with pride. But when you were that 20-year-old self, you had criticism and judgment about your body or whatever it was that was going on at the time. So the way we see ourselves now and who we are now, our future self will look back at us with pride, if we can take away the criticisms and judgments around ourselves in this moment. We can enjoy that now. We don't need to look back on it with a sense of, if only I nourished and loved myself in that moment.
Right.
I don't know if I'm explaining this, but there was this sense of, gosh, you're always looking for improvement or something better, or to be doing something else, or thinking what you're doing isn't the correct way forward, or living in doubt, which is all the suffering. And I really needed to forgive
Yes.
that version of myself so that I can wake up
Mm-hmm.
to who I am today and live from that place
Okay.
of gratitude and appreciation for who I am and where I am
Yeah.
now, not in
Mm-hmm.
hindsight. If only I recognized it then. No, let's
Nice.
see ourselves in the right place, right time, right body, right career, instead of
Because
always
in
trying to,
actuality, the only time that exists
is now, here.
is now. Yeah.
And if you're coming at now from any other angle to be somewhere else, then you're coming at it from lack, or lack of appreciation, or I don't know. Like,
Exactly.
it's a complex concept that really is resonating. To just be
Mm-hmm.
very aware of how I am living every minute. And so, what does that look like if
Yeah.
I was to die tomorrow? That's not morbid. Am I fully satisfied with the kind of person I am living as? And I don't need anything
Yeah.
else to be living as a person or in this body. It's not about material things or the career or the labels. How do I present myself every day in a way that feels authentic
Exactly.
and people remember me and know me for?
Very nice. And so last week as well, you were talking about kind of feeling like you were in a lull, that slow, whatever, like
Yeah.
just you want things to pick up again. But you were also leaning into that to just be magnetic and calling it in and not taking action. And I was also doing that. Like I wanted to lean into just being magnetic and attracting. But I did start taking some action towards some goals. And I feel like that was huge. It's kind of like the action of a breathing practice or moving your body to remove blockages. Like the fact that I took some action just really filled me with life and excitement. And it's not like anything was decided, but that action led to excitement, then led to more projects. And then the next day I was planning for those new projects and taking more action. And then even today, I woke up like inspired. I have so many ideas that I'm excited about. And I feel like taking action towards these ideas, even if they pan out or not, that's not the point. It's like
No.
that inspired action will lead to something exciting and new and different. It might be the thing that I'm going towards, or it might be something else. I'm open, but it's feeling so good.
So resonate. So last week the lull was the stress of or feeling like I had to be doing more, this not being in the right place, right time. So that's why there was a sense to me to say, okay, just pause in this, question why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's not pulling you to do something because you want to be creative and it's for some other
Right.
external reason, stop. If it's pulling you because you want to be creative, go. At the same time, in the
Right. Are you
pause,
forcing the action or is it inspired action?
yeah. So all last week, I changed my morning routine. I did something I haven't done for years every day, and it felt so good that it led the way throughout the day to feel awake and inspired and out of the lull this week. And I also took
Yeah.
responsive action, is the term I'm going to label it as. So, in response to things
Okay.
that are coming at me, I was moving into an action that was leading me somewhere that was lighting up the way. Like it was an enjoyable, responsive action because it was lighting me up with each
Okay.
step.
Nice.
It wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
mind over action approach.
Yeah, like this is on my to-do list. I need to do it. It was more like,
No.
oh, I want to respond to this.
Yeah. And so that's been working very nicely. And I am really excited about March and coming weeks. And at the same time, yeah, just leaning into who my response is to people, how I respond to people, and who my future self is today. I don't know how to explain. Yeah, just sitting in that. The way I am in my future version is the way I present myself, not the things I have necessarily, because I think that will all fall into place.
Oh, so you're actually in your 2.0,
Being,
like that's you.
if I check in
Yeah.
every day and check in with each response and pause before I react or pause before I make a choice and an action, then I am my 2.0 version.
Mhm.
The picture of
Nice.
it
Yes.
is unfolding because I've still got a year to get there.
Hmm.
But I am in that zone.
Or it could be instantaneous. I am open to magic and miracles.
Yeah. We're always open to magic and miracles. Bring them on.
Yes.
And so coming through all of this and now just sort of sitting with that idea of stillness and action coexisting to create your
Mhm.
version basically of, I mean, it is really all about who you want to become and what, you know, how you see yourself. That's all that really matters. So when you are
Yeah.
living from that space, you can expect everything else to come into play.
And I
So what
feel
do you
like
have?
what you just said, stillness in action, is the philosophy of Wu Wei or flow
Mm,
state. And it,
mm.
for me, it always comes back to that, finding the balance, finding that middle way, not going to either extreme of I need it to be this way or I don't want it to be that way. Just finding that balance.
And I've really noticed how I apply that in the how that looks in reality. So
Mm-hmm.
I can be, for example, I sat at the desk with the computer thinking about planning and doing some mind-based action. I did a little bit that was inspired. And then as soon as it felt like there's emptiness in my mind, like I'm forcing an action, a thinking, a process, or I don't, I'm
Okay.
sitting here blind to what I should be doing. You know, have you ever had that sense of, oh,
Yeah.
I'm dried out, but I feel like I want to be creating something or doing something, but I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I then start thinking of, or let me come up with a concept, or let me think about. I got up, and that's when I went in the sauna and had this really big eye-opening moment of how I want to move forward. So it doesn't always look like the way you
Yeah.
think it should look either. I mean, with my daughters yesterday, they're both in the middle of exams.
That's,
They feel stressed out. Met one of them like, I really don't have time to go sailing. But for me, the importance of like stepping outside of what you think you should be doing and trying something totally different has so much power in it because you're allowing that space of
yes.
letting go, just being, well, first of all, being
Mm-hmm.
going sailing and being in nature and getting out in the water is just
Yeah.
so good for the mind. But it
Uh-huh.
also then might speed up the process that you come back to needing to do. Like the study is easier,
I think
everything
so.
around you.
I think it does. It's that disconnect, letting go. And then when you do come back, you're more focused, you're ready to take it in. And like you said, you don't know what's best. That's back to the maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah.
Like what we think things should look like might not be the way they're going to look, or they should actually look.
Mm. So,
So, did she go sailing in the end?
oh yes, she went sailing.
Good.
We did negotiate on some other things that we would have liked her to take part in, and she decided that she needed to prioritize her study. So I felt like that's fair
Okay.
enough. So yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the takeaways? What are we summing up for this week? Say, like, lessons that we've learned.
Yeah, for me, it's just trying to tap more into my heart and quiet my mind and allow myself to be. When I say allow myself to be in those negative places, it's not, I go there because I know I need to go there to stretch myself so that they don't keep popping up. But I do notice as soon as they pop up, I'm ready to start a practice. Like, let's quiet them as soon as possible. So still, it's like learning to be with them, that courage to be there and see that maybe they're not so bad.
One other tip that's just triggered me from what you were saying, someone I was
Mm-hmm.
listening to, when we feel unsafe, don't deny that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, go deep into that and write it out and
Yeah.
find a path or a plan that takes you out of that unsafe space that will bring you
Yeah.
into safety. So say, for example, she was talking
Mm-hmm.
about how she had a huge amount of debt and she didn't feel safe around money. Well, what she did, rather than deny that, she went deep into that. She did the work on unblocking money and planned for her future through her business. But at the same time,
Right.
she put all of her focus and attention on clearing debt, building a framework and foundations that would allow her to no longer feel unsafe around it. So keep,
Yes. I
when
think it
you
is
are,
finding the safety there.
so paying attention to what is making you feel unsafe, be honest with yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
then prepare
Mm-hmm.
your vessel, yourself or your life, your scenario, your setup to support you and no longer make that feel unbalanced. Bring that back into balance. So whatever
Yeah.
actions are needed
Learning to
to
be
be
with
taken,
it.
learning to
Yeah.
be with it,
And like
but
learning to
following
be with
through.
it so that you can transmute it. It can feel safe and it won't be an issue. Like if it is an issue, you have coping skills. So it's not an issue. You can work through it.
Yeah,
It's something
yeah.
that can be in your life and it's okay.
Beautiful. So thanks for
So
the
yeah.
chat
What
again
about you? What are
today,
your takeaways?
this week. My takeaways are about action that's not necessarily based on outcome or desired outcome or future outcome, but about the outcome of the moment. So really
Yeah.
stepping into whatever that looks like. This week it was about getting up at 6 and going running every morning. That will probably change, but right now,
Mm-hmm.
while that feels really good, that's my goal for the day. I don't create long-term
Yeah.
routines and habits because I am such an like a varied person. I don't live like that. So really paying attention to what is
Mm-hmm.
calling me and being fully aware of when it's no longer calling me and allowing things to flow and change and taking action from a place
Yeah.
of
And I
response.
am taking those actions too. Sometimes they're towards the goal, but like not being attached to if they bring me to the goal or not. Like it could being open to the unexpected, that it could bring me somewhere else. And that's exciting too.
Enjoying the moment, wherever it looks like. Because where we
That's
are is
true.
exactly where we're meant to be.
That's true. That's true. That's why we're here.
Thanks
So,
so
yes, like you were
much.
saying, great conversation this week.
Yeah, thanks. And let's see how the week unfolds. Speak to you
Okay,
soon.
take care. Bye.